So done a bunch of videos from when I didn't know too much about prophecy, and I looked into conspiracy, uh, cared about sex trafficking and promise notes from early 1900s and 1800s, where lots of gold, silver, everything was taken and traded, as far as also land that wasn't anybody's to sell and bought. And America and other places that are really rich and wealthy that are considered to be uh, places closer to where Jesus was born and where he was crucified. But misdirection is very big in military tactics and strategic uh, moves, but the biggest one was conquer, divide, and we know about that. So why was all that an issue throughout history? Well, many wanted to be in the light, worshipped, and be able to tell people what to believe in, what to live by, and how to live, and basically putting money, especially with it being paper and in change of copper and you know aluminum and whatnot, not really silver these days. We know how everything has been taken. So why did I look into all that? Because it was important to figure out why so many have suffered. Broken homes, families, just a lot of despair and grievance, pain and suffering, oppression, all of that. And we all know that kingdoms and churches, they work together, especially with the different sources of science being very, very big. In some cases, people will call it witchcraft, others will call it alchemy, others will call it just spiritual magic and combustion of both physical and spiritual, tools and practices. Um, in that being, said, there was always a question that people also asked: who would win, God or the devil? How come they never faced each other? All these type of things. But the explanations with numbers and, of course, it be called an ology, numerology, has everything to do with uh, basically every book that was ever written: book of time, book of spells, book of death, book of life, and it all has its different traits, you know, tree of life, book of life, emerald scrolls, it goes down that way, and then the other way it comes right back up, or comes down, however you want to say, goes down, goes up, down, that whole thingy. But really, whoever made mankind believe that up is like heaven and down is like hell really sabotaged your way of thinking and learning. For it's not the spirit that needs to learn, it is the soul that really needs to recap, discover, rediscover. But it's the vessel that definitely has to learn, because you have to have it all coordinate. Your thinking process is what's in charge of your physical movement. Your posture, your stance, your form of eating, reading, writing, walking, etc., etc. In a higher advanced level, there are those that could make themselves very lightweight. There are those that could actually telepathically speak to each other. And there's telekinesis, the movement. Not only movement of something going from this point A, point B, but also movement of shrinking, stretching, um, you know, growing in weight, size, height, length, all of that. You know what I mean? To make something like a small rock that weighs only like 4 pounds to making it a boulder, that has a lot to do with spiritual alchemy. There's no alchemy that's physical, but there is that form of it being science where, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, that is very possible because you're able to actually manipulate the natural elements through a course and series of science. The way that you're able to extract, the way that you're able to insert, the way that you're able to just, develop all of these different actions and reactions to make more actions, to make more reactions. It's those type of stepping stones that you could look at as, a format going from uh, 1, 2, step 3, step 4, or you could look at it as one big circle, and that is constantly a way of life and death being Genesis. When you look at the Olympic sign, the Audi sign, when you look at all of these portions, the Mercedes sign, pi, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, you will know that it's not only 1/3, but it's also 1/4, 1/8, all of that, 1/6. And so 6 of 6 is 6, 3 of 3 is 3, and which is 1. These type of things are very important. How did I get so smart, supposedly educated, but also knowledgeable and very wise? Was because of my awakening of past life, of here and there. When you look at BC and AD, you notice that the 33 in the middle of Jesus' life, which some try to say he was, born in the ending of BC and died sometime in the beginning of AD. But really, that 33 is very, very important because 33.33 is 1/3. So you have BC, which is more than 33.33, years of age. So that percentage margin doesn't count for human life, but of all life. So BC being 1/3, Jesus' life and passing, that was 1/3, and then AD, that's 1/3. So when you're looking at these, you have to remember that fractions, quantum physics, quantum thinking, and past that, as for astral life, cosmos, spirit, universal, everything has in its accordance to be parallel. And parallel doesn't mean from one point to the second point, and that's it, because it makes it parallel. But anything that follows in that lineage is parallel. So even Genesis, being of how many lives, chapters, petals of the flower, star, that all has parallel universes. So everything as far as discovering what Genesis is, what Revelation, and how it has 3 demons. Also, that being said, that was like, on this side considered to be like Satan and Balsaman, or, I don't ever remember those names exactly, but I should, because knowing the yin yang, you have God who separated from wrath, those that wrath wanted to go after. But of course, with thinking and creating, we have a lot of multi-universes as far as possibility and probability, which all in the same form are very much events and occurrences of real life, whether it's here, there. I've already spoken about so many things where in one religious study, I always go to Abraham because I was like one of the only ones I needed to really notice as far as hearing 2 different stories. But 2 stories is always going to be showing a yin yang, a here and a there, So with that being said, one of those biblical stories, which in my case I know is true because I've had several accounts of the same probability and possibilities occur in this life, as well as memory from other lives. But in that story, Abraham was told by God that if you truly, know of my existence and you follow me, then I want to see you, sacrifice your son, who was already born, a little baby, um, you know, and show that you worship me. As he picked up the knife, in one tale story, there's the part where God stops him and says, "No, I just wanted to test you, and the fact that you're going to do that, I know now that you follow me." In the other tale, as far as it being a different religion, the story goes that he stabbed his son, sacrificed him. Then, as the wife came home that day, she freaked out, cried, went to the restroom, killed herself. For me, I remember doing my research last year looking up, the cold case murder of Jesus and, Lucifer for that matter, because I'm going to get to that. When I did that, all kinds of crazy things happened. My phone would have like a spiritual ghost encounter where it would mess up, freeze, turn off. Um, One time I did a post on Facebook or TikTok, and immediately, as the phone turned off or something, the post changed and it had like a different language as far as writing, like witchcraft stuff, but it wasn't my words, it was behind it, like a frame or like a background. And so it freaked me out, but more of angered me. I don't do well with being scared. The fact that I was a kid, scared of the dark and I had some traumas, I get more upset and angered to think that something's going to be belittling me or I wasted time and space as far as those emotions and not doing something about it. So, with that being said, I remember reading on my iPhone 10 uh, all these things that were coming at me from this universe and that universe, secrets that you don't get to find out being here and, being involved with church or, religious groups, because here you were taught something and over there you were taught something else. Here you were taught not to mix science with religion, you know, biblical and science are completely separated. Over there, it seems like that was the format of making sure that those two were separated, conquer, divide. When you put them both together, that's when you're actually able to figure out a lot more. So that's where I actually was, the troublemaker slash very smart person in class that nobody acknowledged, but not in regular school. I'm just saying metaphorically. I made trouble supposedly for that world and this world as far as finding out the truth and not letting it be ignored, be forgotten. So, am I a warrior for God? Well, of course, and a lot of people don't understand that term, God. That's three sections: G, the O, and the D. Guardian, grace, circle of life, God, atom, sun, earth, water drop, body, yin yang, and then D, domain, guardian or dominion, grace or domain, guardian over domain, grace on top of dominion, So when you look at things in every retrospect, from, evil of a huge meteor, dead planet slash ghastly form of, dark matter trying to, take over the solar system and, wipe out light and all life, you'll know that there is a lot missing. So when you talk about science in the medical world, you know that the body that has been cut open for surgery and, studied for medical research, to try to help life. But even though that's one part that is a big cover up and is in existence, because there are people that really do believe in that, trust in it, they became doctors to do all that, they still had to, you know, swear and write with the contract that they will not speak about what they do when they are at work in the hospital. Same thing with judges, same thing with lawyers and deputies and prison guards and all of that. So, there's a big that has been like, why is that? Paramedics, all of them, some are freaked out. They just leave the job like, man, I studied, I made this my career goal, and now I realize I can't handle it. There's a lot of secrecy, crazy stuff happening. I quit. I'm going to go be a bartender. I'm going to go work here and there and there. It's not your fault to those that wanted to leave. In fact, I applaud you, even though it was good money, it was sleepless hours, it was on call 24/7. You thought you were saving life, but really life saves itself. You might give someone more time here, but guess what? You right away, give them their papers so they could leave. They go back to the streets, wherever, unhappy home, life on the streets, and then they're back in the hospital. That's another reason why a lot of them give up on it. They don't like to be sad, depressed, and upset with how much they try to help the world, but it just keeps breaking down around them and what crushes them inside. So when you're looking at the universe, have you ever heard the term, there's a universe inside you? Well, that is the reason why there's that cover-up of medical science. Because from one form, they wanted to figure out how to become God. Who are they? Those that go against God. Those that have taught you this much and then added that much. So that way you're all confused. That way you give up on the thought of there being a God. Therefore you change your God. And what is your God most of the time? I'm atheist. I'm a scientist, believer. This and that. Oh, I work for money. I don't have no purpose. Life sucks, whatever. You just got to keep moving. That right there was what they were planning all along, because nobody wanted to feel belittled and, son of God or God and vessel and, being king or pharaoh. They just weren't happy with being, a royal subject, for being cared for or not cared for. But usually, it's the street, as they call it, street rat, Aladdin, that is more humble as far as go steal food from the street market and, hand it to some starving children. The whole Robin Hood story, although we know both sides. Robin Hood stole from the rich, gave to the poor. Opposite, Robin Hood stole from the poor like a tax collector and, fed himself as far as served the king. There was those kings that weren't supposed to be king, that more, say, would have been bishops, popes, priests, rabbis, council members. Those are the ones that were aching and yearning for power. But did they ever, fulfill their stomach as far as, not being hungry or thirsty for that type of position of authority? No. There are those that are in politics today that constantly work. And is their job hard? No, it's mostly sitting around making decisions for the people and making the people suffer. But what's hard is all that time that they have to deal with doing that. A couple months here, constantly getting called in the middle of the night, other times fishing and enjoying vacations and getting back to work. But still, that constant current is what makes them less supportive and really not give a shit in the end. Let me just sign that off. All right, now people can't do this. Now people can't do that. Oh, these people, they get away with this and that. And, when they get released, people don't get to find them because, they're that evil. But yet, a lot of satanic stuff from Roman days and many other times all around the world has, protected these sickos, the ones that, rape, molest, child abuse, child abduction, etc., etc., torture, hostels, pay to murder someone, people that are unhappy, they go to other countries, they do something like that, they come back feeling recharged and, a little bit sane because they got to get all that anger out, all that insanity. They got to feel some type of power because they're able to, quote, play God. And then they just, work for a bit, then they go back to it. A couple months, once a year, however the heck they do it. We know that there were stories of Satan and whatnot, having his kingdom in Germany. We know about all the witchcraft from, Moabites being witch doctors, voodoo to Zionists, you name it, you have your good and bad, your yin and your yang. When you look at why they did all this science as far as, it was a sin, the greatest sin as far as, opening the vessel, stuff like that, it's because mind, body, and spirit all were to create a powerful soul that was able to, be three in one and really be able to heal yourself in all those type of forms. There are those that are so materialistic, perhaps they, drained up their spiritual awareness. They're completely witchcraft, bewitched, hexed, whatever, where they're like walking zombies. They right away look at you like, oh, I don't believe that. Well, not believing in something, as far as knowing that it is real, is the same as saying like, oh, I don't know God, I don't trust, I don't believe God, so therefore whatever you believe in is a satanic move. You know what I'm saying? If I said I'm atheist, so you don't know and believe that there is a God, as far as know that there's a creator that created all of us? No, I don't believe in that. Well, then you're a Satanist. Well, I don't believe in Satan either. Still, you are a follower of that evil. Now, when you look at the Satan part, you know that God had wrath and it split from him. That is a saying that was biblical and in the religious beliefs in all accounts, as far as saying multiplying, one that split into two. So therefore, when I say it again, just like the movie Lucy, 1 + 1 is not 2 but actual 1. You'll know that even though they had the full vessel, it was the spirit, it was the magic, it was the energy that split in half. So literally, if you look at life on a projector screen and you see it against the wall, yeah, that's looking 2D as far as not being able to show too much of the demographics of 3D, what is actually having the representation of something further and closer and that distance from it being on a wall, but it is still there, And so when you look at something like that is very, very big in this part of science or understanding a type of arithmetic for alchemy, you'll know that everything that's on that projector, whether it was, connected to a VHS or DVD or Blu-ray, etc., that is actual real life that is coming from the film that was recorded, making it another universe, thinking, creativity. Can you get there? Well, not how today is as far as, modern technology, but is it there? Yes. The part of using your mind and having a very big, powerful imagination tool is the part that will connect you, to be able to actually prove to yourself that is real existence. If I was watching something like uh, I don't know anything. Seasoned little witch above the rim, freaking gone in 60 seconds. If there was a instrument, technology that's so advanced that it could actually hit you with like a laser, pinpoint, whatever, right away, freaking, transfer you from here to that reality, then you would be there, But that's the part that people don't understand, that are not enlightened, that are so freaking gone from being able to be, you know, one third, one third, one third of pi, all becoming, that number three, which is one. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, there's so many different types of studies in science that you should be researching, so that way you could be on this level of thinking. Because if you're just a worker and you don't like your life, then you're gonna crap on somebody else. You're gonna be killing what they're actually trying to represent, what they're trying to offer, and that's not fair. Because honestly, if one is passing away suffering and there's nothing you can do for them, then you just let them go. Rest in peace. I made my peace with them. I walked away. But others, they will constantly try to beat you down. So no matter what, keep your chin up, and your eyes on the prize, and always bathing in the Almighty's light. His glory, her glory, yin yang, God, devil. You have to understand that that's two worlds. But who was it that knew about this type of science? Who was it that got to use all of that as far as universal spirit and the way that things separate and make two, make four, make six? Who was able to operate a system where they use that to their advantage to fool everybody? That is the big part of this, this whole recorded speech that I'm doing. 27 minutes into very, very important, explanation, detail, all of that. There's evidence in all of it. So when you look at a tree of life, tree of death, and then you look at the quantum thinking study, you'll know how we always talk about this, how do you say it? It's not a vortex because it's kind of both sides, but also the universe being a frequency, like a blanket. It's up here. Then you have that, middle part that's kind of like the paper towel, cardboard circle in the middle. So you have the whole universe circle, disc, the plane. Then you have that vortex part, which matches up to the other side of the vortex. And then you have that other plane. Tree of life, tree of death. But is it really up and down, or is it turned from sideways to going up and down? If you look at the old yin yang sign, you'll notice it's like the Pepsi sign. It used to be like blue and red, red, blue. But then it got turned, and now it's white and black. You get what I'm saying? So with that being said, tree of death definitely shows that the witchcraft magical side was taught first to them, and by having both sides interact, purge and merge, like I said, a projector, everything right there on a projector. If you saw, same thing with a green screen and all of that. If you were to have one person stand and you're actually able to split that person into two, you would have just like how they have on Freaky Friday, Multiplicity, Captain America fighting himself. How's he fighting himself? Well, without the mask, they would have to use green screen, that type of, video editing and that type of stuff. But with the mask on, you could just have two people fighting each other that were same build, same structure, height, and all of that, But when it comes to a planet, when it comes to a sun, all of that will split. from natural universe, natural earth, natural sun, to splitting. One black sun, one solar red sun. One black universe, one solar universe. And they're always purging and merging different times of the year. And is it noticeable? Not really, but 2024, it was definitely noticeable for this person. This person who's a Pisces, who said his name in a past life was Jesus, but again, his name, Spirit of Victory, victorious. And then also when you had that whole split, you had Jesus one side, and then you had Lucifer. You have Earth being mission, you have Earth being purpose. You have the black sun, you have the solar sun, the archangel, the black archangel. You get what I'm saying? These type of things are very important. It goes all throughout mythology, archaeology, astrology, zodiacs of everyone's heritage and cultures. And then you have a third party, which it's a little bit of both. One that created all of this fairy tale stuff to make people think different ways because they knew about the alchemy that with making people think different, they're creating a actual format, a module, a different universe. So with that being said, demonology is somewhat of a contrast of those that knew about witchcraft and making something from thought to become real, as far as it being in Genesis, so it keeps recycling. BC demonology was like there for a bit, then vanished. And then AD, there was that with the Greek, the Aromatic, the Jewish, not Jew, and Roman, Greek, Latin, and medieval Egypt. You know about societies all freaking getting wiped out, and their whole civilization left in ruins. There are times where that alchemy was not in their favor, as well as it destroyed them, it imprisoned them, all of that. From what I could tell you about being half, as far as I'm splitting, scientists, as far as them being able to split a matter into two parts. I am half mortal living here and half spirit, immortal in the other realm, and people are like, he's crazy, he needs to go to a hospital, blah blah. Well, those people are really crazy. They don't have enough time to themselves. They don't ever meditate. They don't ever pray. They don't chant. They don't harmonize. They don't speak to themselves as far as needing to be aware and keep up with being sane. Somebody that doesn't talk to themselves is insane. Somebody that enjoys talking to himself and just letting people know, oh, I talk to myself to, just make myself laugh. I talk to myself to, think and get a second person's perspective as far as two brains work better than one. Well, sometimes people will have those characteristics as far as multitudes of not personality, but of character that help to make that personality stand out, to be very wise, very knowledgeable, seem very dumb, ignorant, or psychotically, disturbed, mental illness, as they try to say. But like I said, this type of stuff is very important for you to be aware. Now, what I've gone through this last year, a poltergeist, being in a room, getting whipped by something that was really, really, really intense. I mean, the whole part of getting whipped in real life was something that had some hardcore metal thing sharpened, and just whoosh. That right there, I cried my eyes out. Then I turned over a few minutes later when I had energy and I was still real tired on my bed. And I felt the transhumanism as far as my soul like leaving the body, like it was about to go up. And it's like the ceiling, even though there was no light in the ceiling, I had to plug in my lamp to my room and turn on the light switch for it to have electricity. The light wasn't coming from right there, the light was above me. And in that moment, past life from either side or a mix of both, neutral became positive, negative, good versus evil, da da da. Uh, it's like grabbed my chest and said, like, no, he's not ready. And it's like I was left back in my body. I almost had the outer body experience, but right before, like, it was already like lifting above, it went back in. And then I was, right there on my bed. And I've been homeless most of my adult life. So when I finally roommated last year, around that time, from good to bad, I mean, I had people that won't say they're my enemies, but really knew people left and right where they wanted to make problems. And, little from being a good guy that always helped out everyone, I was, somewhat victimized as far as messed with, jumped, angered. Definitely didn't have a good advantage to the fight as far as being in the car getting bombed on by two people with my windows down and set up, one phone charger, needed to hold on to it for my life because, from having a lot of chargers, everything just kept getting pulled, boom, 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 boom. So helping out somebody that I thought needed help, it's a waste of my time. I drove off. I noticed he jacked my phone charger. No money, no home, because the roommate who was on the lease got evicted. They also set me up with, stuff on the table where I woke up in the morning. Cops had the chain on the door, like already with one screw, like broken on the wooden frame part, and it being open that much. We're like, open it, otherwise we're gonna break the chain. I was like, dang, open the door. I looked at the coffee table, I was like, dang. And the guy was like, you got 5 minutes to leave. I was like, I'm out. So, of course, with stuff like that being, pretty big in, I don't know about the United States because of how they, make things illegal, but yet everyone's doing it. In other places, it's similar, it's not similar, it's death, it's constantly different rules as far as their jurisdiction, the branches, their Libra scale, all of that. Here, you really struggle being a single guy or female, and you're trying to just live a good life without having to give in to bribes, blackmail, those type of trades. And as far as me working on time, it was hard to even want to rent a place to myself where you'd have to work 24/7. You wouldn't be able to enjoy the money. It would go to bills. And then, sooner or later, you'd be like, I don't have any groceries, so I have to starve. My car needs maintenance. Otherwise, I'm taking the bus and trolley. It doesn't run at certain times. So then I'd be asked out on working one job instead of two jobs. And even working two jobs, I mean, the way that life was kicking you, when you're down and out, you'd rather just, go buy an ounce of weed, $80, go buy dinner and enjoy it from somewhere, $20. And each day, things like that, gym pass, car maintenance, gas, phone bill, things like that, it adds up. So it wasn't easy to be able to save up for 3 months, get your own little spot. Other people do it, but again, they are, hard workers like me, but they also don't get to enjoy it as much as they think they do. They're just going off of going with the flow and not noticing. So much spiritual awareness has been taken that they're able to just keep going through the motions. And, I'm not trying to put anyone down. I just wish that they had more, more energy, more wisdom, more seeing, you know, what's not noticed today, you know. So I feel bad for them, and I do pray for everybody. Um, but what I was going to say was, with this other power that upset God and his wrath to split, and if I was a female, I'd be saying her, God and her wrath, because this yin yang, you always have to look at the circle of life, the father of creation, the mother of creation, both being in one skin, perfect circle. If you don't understand that, I don't know what it is that's stopping you from understanding. But my prayers go to you. Those that are archangels, as far as them being considered, a different type of breed or whatever, that, looks like man, had wings, had tail, didn't have wings, didn't have tail, had a halo, didn't have a halo. Those right there represent planets. And the father angel, who, of course, we all know is Michael, that is the solar sun. In Greek, I believe Michael would have been like Apollo. You know what I'm saying? So this whole part of that being said, you have your mythologies from how the story mode went. Are we in a video game computer? Not really, but also yes. Are you living? Are you, not living? Yes. Are you miserable? Are you happy? Yes. It's always a half and half. But when it comes to actual vessel, when it comes to universe, when it comes to a split, you're never going to be half, 0.5. For instance, being the resurrection of Jesus, where people will try to shit on me, and it's okay. You only have so much time to shit on me before bad luck, karma, you get judged, you pass away. You have to confess. You have to deal with the punishment. You make your bed, you sleep in it. So it's okay that some people are either jealous, upset, confused, disturbed, however you want to put it. You know what I mean? I have to let that just go, because why am I going to suffer for somebody not taking the time to really take all that in and be supportive, be knowledgeable, to actually be able to not be confused and know, it's not my fault that really that's a disability on their part. When I look at, the confusion, I can understand, angered, you weren't supposed to be taught wrong, but for those other parts, you know what I mean, that it is a very big disability. Swallow your pride, accept that if it wasn't me and it was someone else, I would have been on their side, happy for them. So why not me? Not, oh well, no spilt milk on my side for me to clean up. In the old days, we learned about things like, for instance, the black hole and the vortex, and how the solar system is like a flower of life. But the middle solar sun, the supreme, the giant, solar sun, that always gets replaced with something bigger, being the black hole, because it got sucked into it. That is an astrophysical and cosmo type of curriculum, but it is also very, very much important with the way of life is, because the outer universe, being on the outside domain, is also parallel to the universe inside you, the inner domain. If there was something as far as black holes opening up everywhere, sucking everything in, a lot of us would have a lot of cancer, a lot of pain and suffering inside. So that type of understanding needs to be really, really addressed. Prophecy isn't about just one person being the chosen one, the Messiah, the return of Jesus Christ and whatnot. And I'll get back to the word Christ because I've actually had to physically, and because mental is partially physical, I had to learn, but also spiritually with the soul and soul resonance and reincarnated and past life. All of that being in a Genesis, I had to rediscover. So that's the two parts of learn and discover that we're able to evaluate and actually come to agree. I believe a lot of you would agree, and the small percentage is why it's belief as far as giving doubt, because that small percentage. But knowing and belief are two different, as well as sometimes not being different. That's what's crazy about relativity theory, and that's where I actually am the scientist that knew about Einstein's life from having past life, knowledge just thrown at me, boom, understanding that whole, pretty much a lot of his research and Tesla and a lot of other things that really, if I wasn't who I am, I would have never been able to just tell you all of this right off the bat, boom, 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 boom. And it was only within 1 year that I was able to figure all that out. So, what was I gonna say? The black sun. Also, when you look at the word Christ, like I said, Christ means, from the Greek Latin word Christo. Christo means to anoint. When they anointed Jesus, they, had the oils from the Black Sea, I believe, and they had the crown halo slash thorn, the rose, divine, whatever the heck with all the thorns, very, very sharp things that were stabbing, poking into around his cranium, very, very evil. So that black magic was also, partial as far as making him drink a certain type of fluid, which I've got to learn from spiritual as well as, research here that's from over there. I mean, the part of frequency, not to get off subject, is that it goes both ways. You know what I mean? If there's one earth and a line that separates the other earth, the frequency still travels through. So that's why we have all of this crazy studies as far as it was on my computer. I'll get the website. I can't find it no more. For instance, YouTube, I've already said that. Certain secret societies or whatever would find something they don't want out that was leaked, delete it, take it off the network and all of that. Then later, someone would have to put it back up and have a different name. So that's why another reason when it comes to this conspiracy stuff, you won't find stuff with its actual name to make it easy to look for it. You'll find things with funky names, so that way it is, on the down low. But for me, it all just jam-packed, just one word hit me. I was like, impotent, boom, boom, boom. And in research, he was, the second architect, the architect for the second pharaoh, of his time, made the whole water electricity system, the pyramids, and some of the pyramids were actually just water conducting electricity, pillars, So, with all that being said, this alchemy and witchcraft part is very much on the spiritual side, where you have to have the powerful imagination combust with the actual thinking and creativity. But thinking alone sometimes is not enough. People will go out to the farthest depths to do something, sacrifice a lamb, a chicken, you name it. You have the whole entity, deity, spiritual world around you constantly. And, some that do evil black magic, there are those that will give them powers and energy and youth and whatnot. Those that do good, they're not always as blessed as far as giving something, but still they didn't take anything from anything, so they don't have a debt. You get what I'm saying? There will always be that debt where even though you sacrifice something, you still are accountable for later on, because where you did something evil in this life and you're given something, still when you pass on, it was kind of like leasing. It's like you still have to pay more after you already paid for it to lease. You get what I'm saying? So that's some of the explanations for this type of uh, understanding. My explanation. This type of stuff, people got to become professors. They got to run countries, nations, all of that. And yet, I'm here in 2025, about to turn 36 on March 3rd, and up here at 666. But down there, as far as them saying up and down, is 999. 1989, there's a 9, the 1 plus 8, 9, then another 9. I mean, these are the type of Mason hidden type of secrecy and codes and whatnot for them creating architecture as well as demoing, destruction. And it's sad because you'll notice that there's a certain amount of Masons, Freemasons, whatever, and all of them are like saying like the 6 children or the 7 council members. You know what I mean? Each one, like Power Rangers, there was 5 plus the 6th one, the Green Ranger. But also he was a White Ranger. That's technically 7. Then it had a lot of Zionist type of beliefs as far as Rita and evil deities that want to destroy life and Earth. You know what I mean? All of this is very big to be able to connect. Because even though storyline stuff was meant to make you disbelieve and throw you off, the real part of it is exact the same. 2 hands from the same person, identical, one left, one right. So of course the magic trick of which hand is the ball in, or switching around the cups, which one has the item under it, it is misdirection. It is that whole part that people are not able to pick up when it comes to this explanation, but others are right on point. They're like, wow. So, with that being said, Michael, Archangel, who created mankind because he created the other archangels, and it was in his image that God made mankind, And when you look at them saying, archangels had wings, archangels had tails. Well, technically, the tails show that it was also mammal, because it's like monkey, as well as serpent. So there's tails. But then also, when you look at the Chinese zodiac, and even with it being Chinese zodiac, you have the sun god, the circle of life, and you have the guardian, which is like the dragon, the solar flares. When you look at martial arts and dragons roar or whatever, even though it's animation or green screen made from real reality, and they're harnessing a spirit type of wave that comes like a dragon, you'll know that when you're thinking about dragons being mythology as well as extinct, and were they here, were they not here. Well, you had lizards that were giant, and the biggest one we have left is Komodo dragon. I don't see any hair on that one. But when you look at Aztec, Mayan, when you look at Inca, when you look at Chinese, China, like Asian, when you look at all of these, you'll notice that when you see a dragon, it's not only with scales being a serpent, but it also has hair. So that is pretty crazy for people to be like, oh, dragons, they're reptilian, they're lizards, blah, blah, blah. Well, they definitely show that they have hair and scales as far as being reptile and mammal. Then you have later on, I believe it was in BC era, way back in the day, the stories of the Monkey King, mammal, the Jade King, who's like a evil serpent, like a emperor that's like the dark side. You know what I mean? You have to cross-examine and really, really put all of this together. So again, dragons are not only reptilian, they're also mammal. When you look at the spirit realm, you'll have that part where it looks just like this. You'll have that part where those that look just like this can easily transform. So have there been those that are, half mortal and half spirit of, the spirit realm? Yes, there's other Pisces. There's Gemini, there's Cancer, there's all of these. Libra, you have all of them that show there's always going to be two sides, no matter what. And when you put that together, you think of usually archangels, being all good and whatnot. But when they did the split, you also have the black sun and all the black archangels. Red solar archangels, dark energy, dark nebula, black sun, black archangels being planets. So you have to understand that each one represents a child of God, being, archangels. And the first one is the Father, just like how the first man and woman are the father of mankind, the mother of mankind. They all were, like, spiritually, in universe being bigger, all one once, just like how mythology of Greek mythology, Zeus made all of the other gods, Hermes, Ares, I can't even go on with all the other names, Hades, Poseidon, a lot of them. But I've already said, even though this is off subject, it would have been carbon-based universe, fire being the first element, atomic element. It would have been Prometheus, who would have been, in Zeus's position. Then second would have been water. It would have been Prometheus. Or, Little Mermaid's father, whatever. Then third would have been air. So then it would have been Hermes. But in today, what we're taught is it's Zeus, Prometheus, Poseidon, and Hades. So you'll notice a black flame as well as blowing out the candle. That's who replaced Hermes in that sense. Being the messenger, taking away life. Hey, your time is up. You see how they have a good and bad as far as like manipulated and that. Well, the beginning you already know. Fire, water, air. End could have been no more pulse, water evaporated, and candle flame blown out. You're passing. Beginning and new beginning, all that type of format. But again, tree of life, tree of death. You have those that are blindsided, that don't know much, and really don't believe that somebody can make something float or manipulate your way of thinking, or open up portals, gateways, windows, doors, tunnels. Then you got those that are living amongst us whether they're secret society or they're actually just by themselves that are finding this out, just like myself, that really are not going to be blindsided, aren't going to be misled, that are not going to be confused or insulted, you know? This type of documentation is very important. 2025, year of good fortune. You know, I'm not only the Pisces of mortal and spirit, but I'm also the flower, also star of Victorious, you know, and also guardian of Earth, not just, you know, the solar dragon being guardian of Sun God, being his Pegasus, but I'm also that grizzly of California who, you know, in one story of ancient times, native people protected the woman, said, go to the cave, I won't let the birds get to you. You know, that type of uh, story. Victorio represents, you know, in different ways, different languages. Victorai, Victor, Victorio, Vicia, and other ways of saying my name. Usually it's like 7 ways of saying my name. Chusca, being after Chusca Mountains, Albuquerque and Shiprock, New Mexico, very important with biblical, as well as San Diego and San Francisco, Mount Olympus, gold, mining for gold, etc., etc. You know, Colorado, underground cities, Malibu's cave entrance that's underwater off the coast, all the way to Philadelphia, New York, and, you know, used to be connected to Europe as well as Middle East. So that's pretty much what I wanted to tell everybody on this video. Anybody that hears me around this neighborhood in Santee, if they had my back, much love. If they were haters, well, fuck you, suck my boom. And yeah, you know, I have every right to have freedom of speech and tell people to F off if they were, you know, in invading my privacy, as well as, you know, being a problem, uh, being a problem maker, you know, starting shit. Like, I don't know who, but like I said, being mortal and spirit, there was times where I'd be in my dad's apartment and I thought it was a neighbor that was listening in, you know, young dude and woman voice. And, you know, I look back there as far as it being the middle area, going to the laundry room, nothing but older people. So I know it's not them. Do they have kids to visit? Well, they'd be visiting a lot if they didn't live there. Do they have kids living there? I haven't seen any. As far as vents and HVAC, sound goes through those very, very strongly. But also, if the walls are thin because of your deep voice, but yet everyone else's voice is not so deep and heavy, then apparently it is not this apartments per se of people living here that start shit, but it's the spirit world too. So, you know, I have all kinds of evidence, everything that just documents and shows proof of my sanity, being legit, not insane. And for a while, I've had to deal with hearing these troublemakers try to set me up, because of course people didn't want me to be led to find the truth. And, you know, being tree of life and a tree of life over there, but that one being called tree of death because they want to, you know, spite and disturb this side. You know, some will call them extraterrestrial, some will call them demons, you know. But again, when you look at the science that everybody has done, like U.S. government and all of that, there are Project Stargate, CIA agents that were, you know, uh, psychics and all of that of witchcraft and magic and alchemy. Well, if they're opening up portals for other dimensions and whatnot, where are they opening these uh, tunnels, these passages to? So again, don't let anyone mislead you. Always ask the big question for the littlest detail that actually might be the missing piece of a puzzle. Thank you.